Hey everyone, in this video I want to talk about what's going to happen in lab this semester. So the main thing that's different about this instrumentation course than a university instrumental analysis course is that we actually focus on how do you operate modern chemistry lab instrumentation like gas chromatograph mass spectrometers, HPLCs, which is a high pressure liquid chromatography system, and atomic absorption spectrometers, other instruments. So given that that's the main key thing about lab in this course, and right now we're not being allowed on campus, the take-home message of this video is I don't exactly know what's going to happen in lab this semester. So you're just going to have to bear with me and we'll discuss it back and forth. I'll give you as much information as I can right now, but that's the take-home message is you're just going to have to bear with me a little bit and we'll try to figure it out over the next couple weeks. So number one, I have applied with the college to be allowed back on campus for lab on Fridays. So that would be all day Friday. Really, I don't know what answer we're going to get on that or what the terms are going to be. So we're just going to have to, you can comment or tell me any of your thoughts on that. I'd love to hear them, but I don't really know if they're going to come back and say yes, but only every other week or something like that. I have no idea. So we're just going to have to wait and find out what happens with that. We might get a yes, we might get a no, we might get a yes, but change your plans. So if that doesn't happen, and while that doesn't happen, we're going to try to do something that helps us learn the key aspects that we would have been learning operating those instruments live in lab. So talk about what that's going to be. I want to start out by explaining what the process of an instrumental analysis is. And it starts actually long before you learn the instrument or how the instrument works at all. It starts actually with collecting samples, trying to figure out what we want to test. Is it something from a river, some dirt somewhere? Is it something from my compost pile? Is it, we've done lots of things. We actually did an actually state certification sample. We didn't certify a whole lab, but we did the testing sample to test for heavy metals in vaping liquids. So we got this sample that simulated a CBD, a hemp oil, with some amount of arsenic in it, and we tested it and passed, their proficiency testing to test how much arsenic was actually in that. So you have to identify some sample or something you want to test, and then get a sample of that, a representative sample of that larger thing. You want to test a lake, you're not going to test all the water in the lake. You're going to take a small sample of water in the lake. So it starts out by identifying what you want to test, figuring out how to take a representative sample of that, how to not contaminate it on the way, how to document that correctly, bring it back to the laboratory, then follow up with that, prepare that sample appropriately, get it to the instrument, then do whatever you need to prepare the instrument to get ready to analyze samples for that particular analyte that you're trying to test for. Instrument softwares are all different. Every different manufacturer has a different software set. So you have to learn, how do you enter that information in their software? How do you tell it what it's going to test for or what you need it to do today? Then initiate that analysis, let the instrument run. All of our instruments run with automatic samplers. So they're a little sampling robot. So once you hit go, you've told it everything it's supposed to do. From there on, it's all automated. It's gonna pump liquid through the system, if that's the kind of instrument it is, go collect some sample, inject it into the system, etc. Then come back the next day and analyze the data from that and put together a report so that you could tell. At this point, we assume that we're handing this off to a client relations person who's going to actually then relay that information to the client. So we put together an internal report for our laboratory that states that we've done everything correctly, that from that process where the sample was collected to where we tested it, all the quality control checks we've run to verify that we are getting the right answer and that this is a trustworthy answer that you can now pass along to the client. So that's a lot to unpack, and we're going to try to work through every aspect of that somehow virtually, until and instead of if we can't get back in the lab in person. So we'll just kind of sort of start talking about those concepts the first time in lecture, and some of your homework will be really about just kind of wrapping your head around some of that stuff like sampling, and maybe we'll go out and actually collect a sample and document that correctly in the first couple weeks. And then after that, we'll try to figure out how we could do those key parts of the analysis. I don't know how that'll go. There's lots of different possibilities, and I can work with each one of you actually individually on what you want to simulate if you're doing it at home. But I'm hoping that we'll get back in the laboratory, because there's really no substitute. There's a lot of great stuff we can do at home, but there's really no substitute for actually being in the laboratory, actually on, a $100,000 HPLC. You just can't simulate that sitting on your, kitchen at home. Although there is tons of great stuff you can do at home, where I'm hoping to get back in the laboratory and actually use some of the instrumentation at some point before the end of the semester. So what I've said for lab is basically all it's going to be is you're going to do 4 completed analyses where you try to do all of those steps that we just talked about. That's a complete analysis from sampling to reporting, where you've satisfied everything there. Whether it's in the laboratory or at home, we're going to try to simulate that process one way or another. And that's basically all you'll have to do for lab this semester. And it may be a lot of work, but it's a 3-unit lab class, so you should expect, a significant chunk of time put into being able to figure out how to do that as the semester wears on. That's pretty much it. Ask any questions you have. I'll give any answers that I can, and I'll definitely keep you posted. But hopefully we'll figure out something really, really great to do for the rest of the semester. And let's get started.